Amidst all the insanity involving Trump and the Republicans' big bullshit bill, there's other things happening behind the scenes that we are paying attention to here at the Katie Phang News Channel because it impacts you. The Trump administration is now going after an entirely different class of people in the United States. They're going after naturalized citizens. What is that? That is somebody who was born outside of the United States who goes through the legal process of naturalization to become a U.S. citizen. And you've seen the naturalization ceremonies that people go, they take a test, they have some questions, and then they take an oath of allegiance to the United States. So you would think that if you're a naturalized citizen, you're a U.S. citizen. And the answer is yes, you are. But according to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, they don't give a shit. Because now they're creating certain classifications to be able to go after you if you're a naturalized U.S. citizen. And how do we know this? Well, on June 11th, there was a memo that was released by the Assistant Attorney General. His name is Brett Shumate, Shumate. And this is the Department of Justice Civil Division. Right? So the Department of Justice Civil Division used to do things like go after bad police departments, bad cops, going after those things, entities, people that are violating people's civil rights. Now, this is before this Trump administration decided to completely destroy and decimate the mission or the purpose of the Department of Justice's Civil Division. Now they're going to be targeting political opponents. Don't believe me? Check out this memo. It's a straightforward one. It's 4 pages long. Again, it's dated June 11th. Now, it starts off with Section 1, quote, combating discriminatory practices and policies. So what's kind of unusual about this is the following. There is a federal statute called the False Claims Act. It's the idea that you make a claim to the federal government and then you're prosecuted for it because of that false claim. In the instance that it deals with DEI, what they're doing now is the Civil Division at the Department of Justice is, quote, aggressively investigating and pursuing False Claims Act violations against recipients of federal funds that knowingly violate civil rights laws. So think about this, right? If you have a civil rights law that basically says that you cannot promote or have a DEI practice, and you maybe are applying for federal funds as a result of what your business does, then they can go after you for a False Claims Act violation. And what's wild is it results in treble damages and other penalties. The False Claims Act provides for treble damages and penalties against a person who knowingly submits or causes the submission of false claims to the government. That is Section 1 of this memo from June 11th. Section 2, ending anti-Semitism. Okay, we are all a fan of combating anti-Semitism, but in the context of this memo, it says that the Civil Division will prioritize investigations and enforcement actions against entities that make claims for federal funds but knowingly violate federal civil rights laws by participating in or allowing anti-Semitism. Stop. So what does that include? I don't know, places like Harvard University, right? Certain colleges and universities, certain organizations, right, that are getting or applying for federal funds, but according to the Trump administration, is not doing enough to be able to combat anti-Semitism. Or on the flip side, according to the Trump administration, is promoting anti-Semitism. I mean, it's totally within the lens of what the Trump administration thinks that you're doing. Section 3 deals with protecting women and children, although they do it in the anti-trans context, right? So here it's this idea that if you apply for federal funds and you are a doctor, hospital, pharmaceutical company, or other, quote, appropriate entity, then the Attorney General has authorized that the Civil Division go after you for your provision of impermissible services. And again, this is an anti-trans pursuit. That is the lens within which the Civil Division is looking at you. But here's the real doozy, and that is Sections 4 and 5. Section 4 is entitled Ending Sanctuary Jurisdictions, and it says, consistent with this directive, the Civil Division shall prioritize affirmative litigation to invalidate any state or local laws preempted by federal law. We are seeing this in real time. The Trump administration has sued the state of California for, quote, violating the federal laws dealing with sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are not limited to just California. They're across the United States. And so the Trump administration has said that the Civil Division will now go after state or local jurisdictions that are violating any type of sanctuary city federal law. Now, Section 5 is the one that I started this conversation with that I want us to focus on now. It's entitled Prioritizing Denaturalization. Quote, the Department of Justice may institute civil proceedings to revoke a person's United States citizenship. I'm going to say this again. The Department of Justice may institute civil proceedings to revoke a person's United States citizenship if an individual either illegally procured naturalization or procured naturalization by concealment of a material fact or by willful misrepresentation. Okay, I'm fine with that, right? It's called fraud. If you commit fraud when you're attempting to become a U.S. citizen through the naturalization process, then there's an existing federal statute that allows you to be prosecuted criminally for it. Fine, no problem. But here's where they go a step further. On page 4 of this memorandum, it says here, the Civil Division has established the following categories of priorities for denaturalization cases. So what the Civil Division of the DOJ is doing, it is now prioritizing pursuing denaturalization proceedings, and they are kind of doing it in the following 10 categories. And they run the gamut from people that pose a potential danger to national security, those that were involved in the, quote, unlawful enterprise of criminal gangs, financial fraud, PPP loan fraud, Medicaid, Medicare fraud violators. Number 9, and 9 and 10 are the ones that we are going to highlight for you so you understand what's at risk. 9 says, cases referred by a United States Attorney's Office or in connection with pending criminal charges if those charges do not fit within one of the other priorities. So this is another broad catch-all. It's a case that's referred from a United States Attorney's Office to the Civil Division of the Department of Justice. And based on that referral, if it doesn't fit within any of the prior priorities, well then, or classifications, well then it's something that the DOJ Civil Division is going to be pursuing. And then number 10, quote, any other cases referred to the Civil Division that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue, end quote. What in the actual hell does that mean? It's intentionally broad. It's intentionally vague. Why? Because as we've seen and as we've learned here at the Katie Phang News Channel, when you draft statutes or laws or provisions or policies, and when you make them so broad and so vague that they can be subject to multiple interpretations, I mean, not only is that not legal, but for the Trump administration, right, for autocrats and dictators, it's exactly what they want, because then they can imbue those statutes, laws, rules, policies, and procedures with what they want them to mean. So in this instance, number 10 of this memorandum says, quote, any other cases. What the hell does that mean? Any other cases? Okay, any's pretty damn broad, right? It covers the waterfront. And then if the division, as in the Civil Division, determines it to be sufficiently important to pursue. So what's sufficiently important? None of these things are defined terms. And as we've seen with abortion statutes, and as we've seen with other type of applicable laws, immigration kind of laws, etc., you're seeing that these are so broadly drafted that anybody could drive a Mack truck through them with the intent to be able to turn them into abuse and manipulate them for their own purpose. So in this instance, the Department of Justice's Civil Division can say, you know what, I think it's, quote, sufficiently important for us to pursue this case against this naturalized citizen. They're trying to take away your citizenship, people. You went through a legal process, born in another country, to be able to attain your United States citizenship. And right now the Trump administration is saying, we're going to take it away from you if we think that it is sufficiently important to pursue you to take away your citizenship. And then what happens, right? Lockstep. Next thing, you're deported. You're rounded up because you're now illegal, or you don't have status, legal status anymore, and you're rounded up and you're shipped off in the dead of night. The memo concludes with the following. These categories are intended to guide the Civil Division in prioritizing which cases to pursue. However, these categories do not limit the Civil Division from pursuing any particular case, nor are they listed in a particular order of importance. Further, the Civil Division retains the discretion to pursue cases outside of these categories as it determines appropriate. End quote. Once again, back in the land of vague and overly broad. Why? Because the Trump administration wants to be able to wreak havoc and completely terrorize the largest group of people humanly possible. Because why the fuck not? Right? For them, the campaign of terror, the campaign of retaliation, the campaign of retribution just marches on. And this is now just another kind of added focus that has been provided by the Department of Justice under Attorney General Pam Bondi. Folks, this is the civil division. This is the civil division. This is not the proliferation of new criminal statutes or new criminal conduct, because remember, the legislature has to be able to create the laws that the lawyers are going to enforce. But in this instance, they're like, you know what? We're going to deputize the civil division to do its own reign of terror. And what we're going to do now is we're not only having the Department of Justice go after immigrants that were going through the legal process through temporary protected status, humanitarian parole, etc. You know what? We're not going to help asylum. We're not going to, let them have a pathway to citizenship in the United States, because now we're going to render all of them to be, quote, illegals. And so we're just going to summarily round them up, especially if they're just brown and walking down the street. And we're going to just deport them off the United States soil without any due process. Oh, now we're going to actually create a new classification of people. We're going to call them denaturalized citizens. But even though they've gone through the process and have become legal United States citizens, we don't care, because we're going to create this bullshit list of classifications in this memo, and we're going to prioritize going after them. It is about as outrageous as you can get. And again, when was this memo from, guys? June 11th, from this little guy, Brett Shoemate, whatever, in DC. This guy graduated from freaking law school in 2006, maybe? I mean, the gall of these people to think, one, we're not going to be paying attention, but two, that we're not going to care. We care. We are mad. We are outraged. We are demanding accountability because people are dying in ICE custody. People's due process rights are being violated left and right. Court orders are being ignored. There is no respect for the judiciary. And now you have the weaponization of the civil division of the Department of Justice, a division that traditionally protected human rights and protected civil rights. Now the Department of Justice's civil division, its mission statement is to violate civil rights, to violate human rights, to violate humans, period. There is no respect left for your fellow Americans if you are a Republican. If you support the Trump regime, you're not an American. I'm telling you right now, you're not an American, because you don't stand for the ideas, the beliefs, and the institutional system of democracy. You don't. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Go somewhere else. Leave our country to those of us that believe in the beauty of the fabric of our immigrant system, that believe in the beauty of the fabric of our United States being made up and comprised of immigrants. You don't like it here. Don't tell me to go back to my country where I'm originally from. I was born here in the United States. But you, I don't care where you were born. If you're supporting this bullshit, you should find somewhere else to live, because we don't want you here. We don't want you and your Trump MAGA beliefs here. Folks, I'll say it again. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability. I am. Pay attention. Check out this memo. Spread it far and wide and let people know what the Trump administration is trying to do. They're trying to denaturalize U.S. citizens. They're trying to take away your U.S. citizenship. It's disgusting. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.